Just gulping that water, man.
10 years later, still complaining about that.
I mean, shit sounds crazy. I hate mouth sounds. It's like the most irritating thing in life. All right. Ready? Yeah. Ha! Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is the Highly Advised Podcast. This is me, Lau, Spence. We're here. It's episode 25.
You're a Lau,
I
nigga?
said me, Lau, Spence. I said all three of our names. What's going on, y'all? We are here. It is Sunday. We are chilling. Actually, y'all don't even know what day it is. We are here. We are here, and we are ready to bring y'all a good one.
Episode 25. Back again with it.
Back again. How are y'all doing?
Shit, I can't call it, man. Go ahead, Lau.
Hey, man, it's a motherfucking, we hit the quarter milestone, quarter away,
Hey.
Quarter brick, half a brick.
I knew it was coming. As soon as you said quarter, I was like, yo, quarter brick. Hey, okay.
Yo, but happy Labor Day to you, gentlemen, if that really means anything to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that means so much to you guys, but happy freaking Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to all the listeners, and shouts out to everybody. This is your boy Big Cozy, Too Cozy, El Capitan. What's up, Spence? What's up, Naja? How you guys doing?
I can't call him, man. I'm doing pretty good. All in all, been taking it easy for the most part. I ain't really been doing shit, really. I've been chilling, honestly, just chilling, doing whatever I got to do.
Okay.
Try to make it out here like anybody else, man.
Not so bad.
How about yourself, Najwa?
Okay.
I'm not doing so bad, man. I'm having a pretty decent week compared to the last few weeks. I know I said I was stressed on like the last, few episodes and whatever. Things are things are getting a little better, for me at least. But who they're not getting better for? That dude Silento, because he is in all types of trouble and all over the internet, looking all types of crazy. Y'all hear what happened with him?
What happened?
All right, so apparently this guy, who made the Whippin' Nene song, I guess they arrested him for some type of assault case, and he was trying to chase down a woman with a hatchet.
What?
Yes, with a hatchet. Insane stuff.
That's not even funny.
But that's not even the worst part of the story.
It's supposed to be funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny, right? But that's not the worst part of the story.
He was trying to show her how to whip the name. That's what that was, man.
So I get online yesterday, I'm just kind of scrolling around or whatever, and they say they have pictures of this dude. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess they're going to have him on somebody's ring, looking crazy with a hatchet. So I was like, fuck it. I'll look at it, right?
Right.
That is not what the picture was at all. I'm sitting next to Lau. I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, had to take my face away from the phone. Now I'm going to tell you what I saw.
No, don't.
No,
if don't, bro. It's an explicit picture. It's a picture that's not safe for work.
Not at all.
Don't go view the picture. I didn't look at the picture, but when Nigel explained to me, I was just like, yeah, bro, that's crazy, bro. Just
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
You know what a red sock is?
No.
All right.
I don't know what that is.
Well, if you know what that is, don't. just don't, man. Cause,
this is about Salatino.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. He is looking very vulnerable online. Very, extremely.
No, I don't want to see that.
I'm telling you.
I got an idea what you're trying to say. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I saw it and I wish I had it. I really wish I had it, man.
It's a burning image in your head, man.
It's the look on his face. It's the look on his face, while the stuff is going on. I'm just like, yo, how did this get out there? I saw a picture. Somebody was pouring, had bleach pouring in somebody's eyes. It was like a cartoon or something like that.
What?
So it's yeah, man. Everybody's.
I look at it how the fuck this child rapper, right? Who came out with a popular song. How the fuck he's just running around here with hatchets, running in people's homes and shit, with crazy ass pictures going online? How does that happen?
Yo, he's a person, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I get it, but it's just so extreme from what you see. That's all I'm saying. Just
Yo,
I'm just saying, man. It's crazy. Like I could only imagine, like for example, who's the Home Alone kid?
Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay
Yeah,
Culkin.
when that guy when he got caught up in the shit, I'm pretty sure it blew people's minds. Like, hold on, that's the Home Alone guy. Like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah. Hey, look at Shia LaBeouf.
yeah,
For me, Shia LaBeouf was probably one of like the outside of Macaulay Culkin, the star that we grew up watching, like someone I
Yeah.
grew up watching. That was just like total. Like it's not as bad as some of these other guys, but like as a Latino. But you look at him, like he became like this rebel dude. But at one point, it seemed like he was like bad on like drugs and shit like that. He was homeless at some point, I think, too.
I think he just had like a little rough run in, like, you know, with Hollywood and whatever. But he's kind of like picked it up though, like especially as of recent. Like he's not doing too bad for himself.
Yeah, not now he's not, but before it was just like it was like, dude, how you go from even Steven to that? So like you seen someone like Salentino, I don't even know I have an idea of what you saw and I don't want to see that.
I think it's called a pink sock, by the way. It's one of the colors, but yeah, it's just
whatever it is, don't go look at it. Don't.
yeah, it's just don't, man. Like
Yo,
unless-
why are all these nasty things called this stuff? Like blue, why all this stuff get color coded?
blue waffle. Yeah.
Pink
I saw one called like chicken fried rice or something like that back in the day.
Yeah. Just
I'm good.
Yeah, that's what it is, man. Like it's.
You ever see the sandbox joint?
I saw
One cup.
I saw it. Yeah, no, I saw all that. Like, I don't really like seeing it all, but it's like, you know, some of the stuff you just can't forget it once you see it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's like,
Yeah.
yo,
The internet was just such a wild place when we got on.
yeah,
That like you just see like we saw all this is before there was any regulation, bro. So like you saw like some wild shit.
yeah, man.
It was pretty dark back then. I think it's a lot darker now. I mean, the surface of the web that's public right now, like the kind of the internet that we use, is not nowhere compared to the dark web.
Oh, absolutely not. But if you compare the internet that we use today versus the internet that we used back in 2008, 2009, that's the dark web in comparison to today.
No, I'm talking about the real.
I know what you.
dark.
I know what you're talking about,
There's
but I'm
like three
saying
different layers. But that third layer of the internet, bro, it's probably some shit like I know that I would even want to divulge into.
Yeah, man.
exactly. Trust me, I totally agree. What I'm saying is just this. Like I agree with you. I think some of that stuff that is at that third layer today was like, oh hey, someone just uploaded this and no one knew what to do with it back then. Like, cause you know the what was that show I sent you? Waverly, the Waverly dude on YouTube.
Yeah,
Like him, like even when he unmasked like some of that crazy stuff that we seen, not even crazy stuff, but like the stories behind a lot of like those viral moments that we had doing as kids, like some of that stuff is like a little weird when you look at it. Like the peanut butter and jelly time, dude.
Yeah, bruh. Oh man, yeah, man. Some of that stuff is dark. You're right.
It is. Dude, I don't know. He was Snoop Dogg's cousin. Got into
Really?
a whole yeah, he was Snoop Dogg's brother-in-law. He was married.
Wow.
Snoop Dogg's married to his sister. He ended up getting into somehow the cops stopped him. He ran, got into a shootout with the police. The police called Snoop Dogg to say, hey, can you get your brother-in-law out of this bank or store or whatever, or a house?
Yeah.
He refused because Snoop told him, we got enough money to fight this on the street. He said, F that, and he shot it out with the police and got killed.
wow.
That's the guy who wrote that peanut butter and jelly meme that we saw all the time.
Yeah, the
Peanut
song.
butter jelly, peanut butter. That song, that's him. He was the one that got in a shootout with the police.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Real life shootout. Yeah, man, that channel, it'd be having all dark shit. I feel like we could dedicate an episode to that. But like,
Maybe get in contact with the guy.
yeah, well, I'll leave that up to you, Nigel. You know, you're pretty professional. So
You know, I try to be.
yeah. But yeah, bro, That shit was fucking crazy.
Some that wasn't so dark, but like was still pretty crazy to see was Matt Hardy last night at the AEW event. You know, like just watching that, seeing that situation, I was just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like,
Yo, his head bounced off the concrete, yo.
yeah, it looked really bad. Like it looked really bad, and I was just like, man, like me and Lyle were just sitting here watching it. Real time, it looked like he was on the ground for like 5 minutes, just with his eyes open, stiff.
Yeah, I knew he was.
The dude was trying to still pin him though.
I knew he was knocked out just from like. So you know, typically when guys fall through like tables and shit like that, they do the whole dramatic, "Oh my back," you know that whole shit.
Not him.
Yeah, not him. He was stiff as a board, bro. He was just.
I seen that though. Listen, I seen the highlights from it that I think Nigel sent it. I seen the highlights from it, bruh. You could tell something left his body. Like the whole gimmick left his body as soon as he hit the ground, and you saw where the other dude was able to like kind of get up and move, and you just looked. The camera it's like the camera was panning and just locked on him, and you're like, oh, I was like, yo, is he dead?
Yeah, he was. It was crazy. He was actually up, his toes up in the air, thumbs up because he was knocked out. Like the dude was, he was in shambles, man. The only thing I did not like about that whole sequence was accidents happen. I didn't like the fact that whoever was in charge of that match let it continue. I think like as soon as he was concussed and knocked out, they should have been like, "Yo, it's not worth it. We can book this another time."
I was thinking the same thing, but when I kept seeing like granted, I saw just a highlight, like a 3-minute highlight clip of that whole match or whatever.
Yeah.
I said to myself, I was like, yo, they should be stopping this. Definitely if it's 5 minutes of waiting. But I realized, I said, man, I know what it is. He's supposed to win this match. That's all it is. That's the only reason why they're like, we're not going to stop this match. If he was on the books to lose that night, last night, they would have just said, okay, he's DQ'd. He's DQ'd. Whatever.
And you know, it's the thing where we were watching it and they had him like climbing into this, I'm not sure exactly what you would call it, but the things that hold up the lights. And he pushed the wrestler off, Sammy Guevara. And it looked like, you know, he was still kind of stumbling his way up there. And I'm just like, man, like you guys are lucky that nothing bad happened, because all he had to do was lose his footing a little bit and he falls more. It's a wrap. Died. It's a wrap, honestly.
Thank God he didn't die, right? But like, he could have been severely injured.
Yes.
Last night.
Yes.
He could have died. One. Yeah. Two. He probably, if not died, like you said, severely injured. He's lucky he's not paralyzed. Honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, he probably did for sure get a concussion.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's without question. Without question, he has a concussion. It's just, I know when he was hanging from like I guess the thing like you're saying with the lights, I guess it's like a glider or some shit. Like when he's leaning over, because I guess when he pushed Sammy Guevara down, I didn't realize it was like 10 or 20 feet he dropped. And I looked at, because I'm talking about like when the match was over, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's hanging on that thing, and I guess he knocked Sammy Guevara all the way down. I looked at that shit. I was like, fam, I'm looking, and I'm thinking, is he going to jump from that? Because I was like, he's about to die.
I was talking a while. I was like, please don't jump. Please don't jump. Like, I was just watching it, man.
As the camera zoomed in on him, first thing, prior to even the camera zooming in on him, but it looked more like that afterwards, was he looked like Jack Nicholson in Sideshow Bob's Love Child. Like, he just looked so, like, you could just tell it was like, fam, you're out of it. You're out of it. You need to hang up the belt, the shoes, whatever.
Yeah.
Hang up the ladder, the table, and the chair, and just sit down for the rest of your life. Clearly, I didn't see Jeff out there. Does Jeff still wrestle?
Well, he doesn't wrestle for that promotion, but I don't know if he actually still wrestles or not.
He probably was the smart one that said, I'm hanging this shit up, because He definitely, after seeing what happened to his brother, man. Like Matt Hardy just looked crazy last night.
Yeah, it looked really bad, man.
It looked bad. He was clearly concussed after that too. You could tell in his movements, and I just didn't like the fact they continued the match because I was just kind of like, yeah, he was supposed to win or whatever, but it was just kind of like, dude, like it's not that serious, man. You know, if they cut that match short, it wouldn't have been like they would have lost pay-per-view numbers or whatever.
Nah.
Exactly. I mean, but that's just like, it just goes to show you when someone has like a certain notoriety to him.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we kind of like, it's kind of like they kind of gave that match to him. If he's knocked out cold like that and they still give him the match by pretty much keeping it going, it just shows you how like it shows you how they handpick who they want and they just give everything they need to someone else, man. Because like, I don't know, that shit is just crazy. It's crazy because you see how like some people can get damaged from that shit, man.
Yo, he could have died, man.
Yeah, man. It was weird and like one of those things where it's like they had it kind of figured out, didn't go the way they wanted, but it is what it is for them. One way that it can work out when you kind of have people handpicked for situations is like when Steve Nash was picked as a new coach for like the Brooklyn Nets, you know what I mean? So like he actually, I'm assuming it's going to work out for KD and Kyrie.
Well, they support the decision. I'm assuming that you're referencing the Stephen A thing, what Stephen A's comments on the matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Stephen A basically, for the listeners, he basically said that Steve Nash getting a job over certain veteran coaches like Ty Lue it's white privilege. And he further went on to explain the reason why he felt like it was white privilege. Like Steve Nash has no coaching experience, but somehow he got the head coach job of the Brooklyn Nets with two superstars in KD and Kyrie. Steve Nash is not proven as a head coach. He's a Hall of Famer, yes, but he's not proven as a head coach. As far as the thing about like the white privilege thing, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a white privilege thing, right? Because Ty Lue, when he got the head coaching job in with the Cleveland Cavaliers, was he proven at that point as a damn good head coach? Was he proven?
But I think he was handpicked though, wasn't he?
I mean, so was Steve Nash. You know what I mean? You don't.
But Ty Lue was handpicked by arguably one of the greatest players of all time, LeBron James.
But Ty Lue's not proven, right? He's not Phil Jackson.
Right.
Phil Jackson.
Right, but
if he's your head coach, it's proven. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't proven. So I'm not saying that Steve Nash being selected as a coach is the right thing. You know, only time will tell. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's fair that you choose a guy with no experience over guys with experience. I'm not saying that neither. I don't think it's a white privilege thing. I think it's more or less of like, hey, I know this person, and that's why this person is going to get the job over you, versus, oh, well, he happens to be white. Especially when the NBA right now is doing all this Black Lives Matter stuff.
Right.
I don't know if it's so quick to say it's white privilege.
I don't think it's necessarily white privilege in this situation. You know, KD has some type of rapport with him from being in Golden State. And, you know, Steve Nash also is, I mean, come on, he's Steve Nash, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know what I mean? That doesn't make him necessarily the greatest of coaches. But at the same point in time, like when you have KD, who's arguably, I mean, not really arguably top 5 players in the league right now. And he's like, hey, he was on this team when I won a title. I know he can help us out. And he probably says the same thing to Kyrie, who is also, you know, a proven player at this point in time to a certain degree. It's like, you know, it's kind of hard to fight that. Who else on the team is going to have any say at that point in time? I put it like this. Anybody else's team on the say, as far as player goes, isn't going to go over KD saying.
Yeah, I can agree to that. Like, no one's going to go over. Is no player there like can rank themselves in terms of what they can say, how loud their voice is outside of KD. I can agree to that.
Right.
So I can see how there's a connection between the two, which can pretty much show where it's not a privilege thing. But I think the reason why people are saying this is just bringing awareness to the fact, like someone like Mark Jackson, right? He pretty much coached the team that went on to be one of the best teams we've seen in the past decade, right?
Yep.
Like he helped build a lot of that team. So I think people that are looking at it from the white privilege standpoint are saying like, hey, granted, like Ty Lue didn't have experience then, but he has experience now. with some belts underneath his waist. Granted, when you have LeBron on your team, it's you pretty much just got to come to work every day.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
like let's be honest. Like if you have LeBron James, you could coach LeBron James, bro. Like if LeBron said, "I want to allow," let's be honest.
Yeah.
If LeBron James said, "Hey, I want Lau to be my head coach," okay, you think Lau can't win the title for them?
LeBron, do your thing.
Yeah. Like LeBron, because LeBron is somewhat of a player. I think to some extent he's a player coach just because he understands. I think the way he understands the game, like if he doesn't agree, I think he's going to have some say in the huddle at the end of the day when it's down to a clutch moment, right?
Yeah.
I think some people are looking at it from a privileged standpoint because you have someone like Amar Jackson, you have someone like a Tyronn Lue, who, despite, like we said about LeBron, he still has the experience. He has championship level quality. And these are pretty much two coaches that are coming from, one comes from, I pretty much built a lot of this championship team, the Golden State Warriors. And one comes from, hey, I've coached a championship team with one of the greatest players of all time, Ty Lue. Players, when you see coaches of that caliber looking for jobs and you see like granted, it all comes down to your network. But when it's like, hey, like these guys are looking for jobs that are quote unquote overly qualified in comparison to Steve Nash, minus the experience. Granted, Steve Nash has the experience on the court. So I think that's the reason why some people look at it as privilege. I personally, I don't see it as privilege necessarily, just because shit, like if you know somebody, that's how the game works a lot of times. And let's be honest, I think when Steve Nash played, a lot of people knew Steve Nash is the one player that can play. He'll come off the bench and he understands the game of basketball. And I think he understands the game of basketball from a player's perspective better than Ty Lue and Mark Jackson. So I think his player experience exceeds what the other coaches have to offer. KD's going to be the star. He should feel comfortable with whoever's in the huddle. Because, KD has a problem with, not authority, but he has an issue with some people. He has an issue with a lot of things when it comes to, things being his way to some extent. So, I mean, it makes sense. So at least if Steve Nash is his coach, at least he doesn't have to deal with, we shouldn't hear anything about him having issues with the coaching.
Well, who do you guys? So right now it's the semifinals on both sides. Who you guys got real quick, winning the series? I mean, you got the Clippers and the Nuggets, the Celtics and the Raptors. You got the Lakers and the Rockets, and then you got the Bucks and the Heat. Who do you just real quick predictions? Who you think is going to close out these series?
I see it going Celtics Heat in the finals. I would like the Heat to take that one. I think the Heat can take that one. I think if the Heat take that, they'll probably still lose to whoever they go against in the West. I think the Rockets Lakers is interesting, but I don't know who's going to take that one. Clippers are going to beat the Nuggets.
I definitely got the Clippers beating the Nuggets. I have with the Lakers Rockets. I'm going to be rooting. I'm rooting for Houston, but I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's hard to count LeBron out. So, but I'm going for Houston, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lakers take it. Going with Miami as well. So, and I'm not sure about the Celtics. Who are the Celtics playing again? I haven't been keeping up with them.
The Raptors, Toronto.
I'm going with the Celtics on that one.
So I got the Celtics winning. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I think the Heat is gonna sweep, and I think the Bucks, they're not gonna play as hard. I see Giannis leaving. Rumor is he might go to Miami or he might go to Golden State. We'll see. I see the Lakers beating the Rockets, but I do see that series going out at least 6 games. I think the Rockets are going to be a little tougher than what people thought. And I see the Clippers beating the Nuggets. Now, the Nuggets, they're no pushovers, though. They got young guys on the team, but they're balling for real. So my East Finals, Heat, Celtics. Then I see Los Angeles versus Los Angeles in the West. And I guess we'll revisit when it comes to those games. But
yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens when it comes to that. I mean, I know in sports though, I don't think I had a chance to watch it, but you sent me something about Cormier, right? Because he finally had a chance to speak on since after he lost. Because I saw some publication about I guess he had said that Stipe had won or whatever. It was a fair fight. Long story short, but what all was it that he was talking about?
So he was on the Ariel Hawani podcast, and
Right.
Ariel asked him. He was like, "Hey, so is this it?" Basically, he was like, "Look, if I'm not fighting for a championship, which he knows like he's not going to get another championship fight,
Right.
he's done, you know." And he reviewed the fight, and he was like, "Yeah, Stipe." He thought Stipe beat him 3 rounds to 2, and he thought it was a fair call. Nothing against Stipe or nothing. And he was like, and then he also said that the reason why he left the octagon without without like giving kudos to Stipe or nothing. He said he didn't want to steal Stipe's moment. You know, Stipe won. He said there would be plenty of time for him, you know, to get his flowers. But
That's honorable.
yeah, in that moment, it was Stipe's win. So, and he said he was happy with his career. You know, he was solid with his career, and you know, I'm happy for Daniel Cormier. Kind of like we spoke about it a little bit already. You know, he had a tremendous career, and the only 2 people he lost to, and he already beat one of the 2 people he lost to, was the best of each person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so he definitely has nothing to hang his head at. He seems like he's satisfied. He probably is kind of like, look, if I lost to John Jones, lose it to Stipe, it probably is not as hard because he didn't have a blood feud with Stipe. You know, that was more like a competition thing.
Right. Yeah, because I think when with him and John, they literally did not like each other. Him and Stipe, it was just like hey, it's business, and they just wanted to fight. I think the thing that built that trilogy up so much was outside of just the one loss for each of them,
Right.
is the fact that there was so much. It was prolonged because of the virus, and then outside of just the virus, but like the contract negotiations and all of that type of stuff. So,
Right.
I mean, I think I respect Daniel Cormier for that, of being able to understand like, hey, this is his last moment in the octagon, and instead of trying to take any praise from me, he's like, yo, I lost. I walked to the back. I want the man to have all his praise. I don't want it to get eclipsed by my retirement. Because you know, if he stayed in the octagon, they would have talked to Stipe for like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then be like, go ahead.
And try to get the Daniel Cormier.
Exactly.
It's one of the things where like I'm starting to gain like a decent amount of respect for Daniel Cormier, the way he's handling this whole situation, like post fight and whatever. Like even I'm glad his eyes healed up. He won't need surgery. You know what I mean?
Thank
like
God.
you know, because it looked really bad. He had a few things to say about John Jones. He was just like, which I kind of disagree with. It was kind of weird. Like he said that his biggest feud is going to be Stipe because of the man Stipe is. He's like, I'd rather be known to have a feud with a guy who's a firefighter and a good husband than somebody who did everything bad. It's like, okay, whatever.
That's
like,
because he beat him once. That's all
that's besides the point. But it's like, you know, like we all know what it is. Like it's just it's like a subtle shot.
Yeah. You can't. It's hard to be like, yo. It's hard to be like, yeah. My greatest competition was a person I lost to 3 times or twice.
I mean, that's just like Muhammad Ali coming out and saying, "Yeah, my greatest rivalry was against Ken Norton and not fucking Joe Frazier." Or you know what I'm saying? Like everybody knows the
one.
yeah, Joe Frazier is like the biggest fight Ali ever had. Ken Norton, like I'm not saying they weren't big fights, but they're not. You know what I mean?
It's
Right.
pales in comparison.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then so like with that, you know, with that being said, you know, there was more talks though about like John going into the heavyweight division. As you guys already know, he relinquished his belt and all that. So now it's kind of confirmed, like, all right, he is coming to heavyweight, but it's more or less of like when now, you know, and. He put out a tweet basically saying like, "Hey, the negotiations is going well, and he's gonna start bulking up to go into heavyweight." Now, he also campaigned for a media title shot against Stipe, but Dana White's already put the brakes on that, saying like, "No, Francis is getting it next." What are your guys' thoughts on that, real quick?
I sided with John on that one. Either way, however you cut the pie, it works perfectly for Dana. Because if Stipe wins the fight, he fights John. And then if John wins the fight, he's pretty much the baddest person ever. at the end of the day because he's pretty much beat the quote unquote GOAT, right?
Right.
But if he loses, if Stipe loses, the downside to it is Stipe could automatically want a rematch or prolongs the fight for
Yep.
John.
Yep.
But the other side is because we know how Stipe is when it comes to each fight. Stipe is going to be wanting a ton of more money for the John versus Stipe fight. So if he fights Ngannou, and let's say Ngannou wins, and there's like all the extras like it was before when DC was champion. Honestly, John may, and if John ends up fighting Francis, who I think the fans win on that. Well, I think the fans win. Dana's going to win because that's going to be one of his biggest paydays of all time.
Yep.
Like, so to me, I feel like it'd be better for John to just have his chance first, just because either way, if you have if you have Francis sitting and just looming in the back, it's only a matter of time. Granted, if you have Francis on ice for the time being, who do you send to him to fight next? Because he's just going to kill whoever he fights.
Well, they said that John Jones also called out Brock Lesnar too, and that's a fight I have like absolute zero interest in.
No one wants to see that shit.
No, nobody wants to see it. Brock Lesnar hasn't fought in so long. I don't even know how old he is. Like, I'm pretty sure he's in his late 40s, if not in his 50s at this point in time.
Question.
What's up?
So, sorry to cut you off. Question, though, because I know. So, prior to this whole COVID-19 thing, did you have any anticipation to see DC versus Brock?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I never wanted to see Brock Lesnar fight again.
100% agree.
I just don't see the point. Like, it's one of those things where Brock Lesnar has done his thing and he's like a part-time fighter at this point in time, kind of like he's kind of a part-time wrestler in his later career in the WWE. Like, I don't really like the idea of seeing him getting in there and actually having combat like affiliation when he can like really get hurt. You know what I mean? Just sit down, enjoy your retirement. He gets paid a lot of money.
Yeah, but at the same time, for Brock, you got to think about it. Brock is a huge payday for anybody. Still, if he fights Brock, because like John already came out and said, if he fights Brock, John already said he doesn't care about the belt. He wants a big payday at the end of the day. So if he was to fight Brock, in terms of paydays, you're going to get the biggest payday possible.
Yeah, I agree with both of you gentlemen. I don't care to see a Brock Lesnar fight now. Maybe back in the day, but final UFC point though. Usman and Burns might be a title fight in December, and plus you have Masvidal and Nate Diaz part 2 that might be either in December or January, but it's looking like it might be January for a main event. And how do you guys feel about those fights? Just your quick thoughts on those two.
Like the way I see it is like I'm interested in seeing Usman fight Burns, and then I feel like me and Lyle, I know me and you spoke about it. Jorge Masvidal fighting Nate Diaz doesn't make the most sense at the moment because there's other people he could fight, but like it's the money making fight in the welterweight division, probably the biggest money fight that you're gonna get at the moment. So I understand it.
I can agree to that, like with the Jorge Masvidal and Diaz fight, but I think the only benefit to that fight is if Usman is fighting Burns, then Masvidal needs somebody else to fight in the meantime, because I think he's going to want to fight. He wants to fight Usman again, right?
Right.
So like in this situation, it's like you won already before. So this is we'll put you on ice for the time being, because like you said, because I think Lau said this like a couple episodes. Maybe 5-6 episodes ago about Masvidal is pretty much he brings in the biggest numbers outside of Conor right now. So if you give him another BMF fight, he wins that. Yeah. It's going to keeps his stock up, and it holds off because more than likely he'll just be able to fight whoever wins the Usman Burns fight again.
This will be my last take on the stuff before you guys go on. So I agree with Usman Burns, right? That should be the title fight. Now, Masvidal Diaz, the reason why I don't care for that fight, because one, Masvidal, he spanked Nate Diaz from pillar to post when they fought last year, right? He beat the hell out of him. So that fight wasn't really competitive. Now, for a money fight perspective, that's fine. I have no problem with it. But if Masvidal, once he spanks Nate Diaz again, should he really get the title shot? Like, is that contender worthy? Because you have somebody like Leon Edwards who's on an 8-fight win streak, who's been calling out Masvidal, he's been calling out Tyron Woodley, Kobe Covington, blah blah, but nobody's trying to fight him. And the only reason why that he didn't get to fight Usman back in July was because where he's at, they have the travel ban because of COVID or whatever like that. And so it's just kind of like I think Masvidal's ducking Leon Edwards, and that's just my take on it because he could clearly fight Leon, and that could be a real number one contender fight. Because if Nate Diaz wins that fight against Masvidal, which I don't think it'll happen, Nate is not going to get the next title shot. What they're going to do is they're going to set up him and Connor for the BMF belt. And that's exactly what it is. Like Nate Diaz is cool. But I'm tired of Nate Diaz because he's not he's not consistent. The dude he wins one fight here, then he'll lose a few, and somehow he's still people are still like putting him in these main event spots. Like the guy's he's not consistent, man. And I want the UFC to stay away from that fucking money fight shit because that was terrible a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
It's only going to get worse though. I think it's going to get worse now because of the pandemic. Because I agree. To be honest with you, I agree with what you're saying about Nate Diaz. Like, I really don't care to see. Honestly, the only fight I'd be willing to really watch of his would be him versus Conor 3, right? And more than likely, that'd be if he was to beat Masvidal, that's going to be the BMF belt.
Yeah,
that's going to give so Conor can have a belt in the meantime to give him something so he can. For one, he'll have status, like I said before, and then he can use that as leverage when he fights Khabib or what's his name? Yeah, exactly, him. Yeah. So like,
you know who him is.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I feel like if the UFC is going to keep doing this BMF belt, or they're going to try to milk that, I'd rather them just open up like a 160 weight class so we can actually have another belt, an actual real belt worth seeing fighters fight for.
I agree.
And to answer what you were saying about the Usman and Edwards thing, I think after seeing the numbers, I think Masvidal. I think Masvidal realizes why take hard fights when I can milk. He's going to try to milk this. Don't get me wrong, Masvidal is a bad dude, but he's going to try to milk it. If he can milk it and say, hey, like when we saw Dennis Silver fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And then right after that, he got a title shot. Why are you getting a title shot for fighting someone of low quality competition?
Yeah, you're right.
But listen, if Dana sees numbers, if I know Masvidal can if I can get Masvidal into the cage, the numbers are going to be great. Why not have him fight, even if it's a bum? So
right, yeah, I hear you. I mean, like I said before, man, like I don't think he necessarily should be fighting him. I think he could always fight anybody else. Or I shouldn't say anybody else, but he keeps on saying that he wants the rematch. He wants the rematch. He's not going to get an immediate rematch, obviously. Okay, right. Cool. So fight somebody in the top 5. Leon Edwards hasn't fought all year, even though he was scheduled to, but, the world shut down. So it's like, it is what it is. It muddles up the division, and nobody likes that. It'd be the same thing with Khabib fighting GSP. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, it makes money. But if GSP wins, then what?
You saw what happened at 185, man.
Exactly. Like nobody wants that. So exactly. I don't know. It's one of those things nobody wants to see. Like we have all these things in the news that nobody wants to see. That stuff. And on a more serious note, we had the situation in Rochester, New York, with Daniel Prude. It's a sad situation. It's crazy what happened, more or less anything else. And also, the Highly Advised podcast want to give our condolences to the family for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
R.I.P. for sure.
Yeah, like I've read the article about it. I've refuted. Like me and Nigel talked about this earlier this week.
There's a lot of questions that can be made, like specifically, why did the officer put so much pressure on his head? Like that's more or less anything else. Like apparently the way the story goes is I guess the brother of Daniel Prude had called the cops on him because he was having a mental episode, in the street. The cops came to Daniel Prude. He was undressed in the middle of the street. They asked him, get down on the ground. He did. Put his hands on his back. He did. Daniel Prude then said he had COVID from what was being reported. So they put a spit bag on his face. After that, it looked like Daniel Prude had a little bit of a bad reaction to the bag being put on his face. They then put a lot of pressure on the back of his head. Daniel Prude was throwing up on the ground, and they were saying, "Oh, you're throwing up, man. You're throwing up." Like the family saw that as them mocking him, and he passed away, or I should say, he then went unconscious. They then ruled that he passed away from asphyxiation, and that is a story that we know so far.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. It's extremely sad. Like I said before, I haven't watched the video. I refuse to watch it because I don't think the normalization of murder or death on camera, there's no reason to normalize that for myself personally. But I will say this whole situation is just terrible, definitely with everything that we've seen so far within the media, because it's like a rinse and repeat cycle so far. From Breonna Taylor to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and so many more, right? Rest in peace. Like, this situation is just upsetting because you're seeing excessive force, or what what is perceived as excessive force. Because I've seen a clip where the officer pretty much, it looks like he's almost about to do diamond push-ups on his head, right? When you know, and luckily some, like a state like California, I believe, has decided to actually take part in this. But you need more. We need to see more states, I think, across the country doing this, where in mental health cases, you need to be bringing someone that is. It's better to call someone that as a profession in mental wellness in comparison to someone that's there to protect and serve and for crime at the end of the day. So I think that's really what this is a testament to, and I hopefully this pushes New York and hopefully every state wanting to actually get mental wellness officers, I guess you can say, for lack of better terms, to these type of sightings in comparison to a police officer. Because had this not been a police officer and it had been someone from that would have been maybe a therapist or whoever that mental wellness profession would be that would go to these type of calls. If it had it been someone like that, or at least had they been able to be there, I think the results would have been differently at the end of the day. And it's just a sad situation overall. Hopefully we see more that comes from this. I know I've been reading about like the AG and the mayor and the chief of police. They've all had some words to say about this. I know the chief of police I had read, and I believe the mayor as well, has said they were putting everything in the AG hands. They're saying, hey, we've given all the evidence to the attorney general. We're just waiting to see what happens moving forward. So it's a extremely sad situation. I can't believe this happened. When was this? Like, this happened? No, this actually just happened. It's sad how we confuse a lot of these moments. But yeah, it's extremely unfortunate. Well, no, this happened in March. So like this is, I remember reading that, how it's sad that we're seeing something like this now with such a delay. Like, if this happens in March, why am I just now seeing it in September?
Agreed.
Granted, I mean, you talked about this. Like, I think there's a whole lot of things like that come from that because of just the system in which which we have to play in, what people have to play in, and there being a chain of command. So,
right.
But overall, it's really unfortunate. My prayers go out to his family. Hopefully everything gets figured out. There's people right now out in Rochester actually protesting currently as we speak. So best wishes to everybody that's involved in the situation. And yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's really sad.
Yeah, it is. It's an unfortunate situation. Definitely, for sure. I guess on a brighter note, there was a release of Big Sean's album. We all listened to that. And we all enjoyed that, a decent bit.
It's a good album. It reminds me of a mixtape, to be honest with you.
I like that feeling, honestly. I think it's one of Big Sean's better albums.
It's one of his good albums. I don't know if it's my favorite one, personally. Like, I mean, I think it's cool. It's not bad. It's a good album. Like, I had a whole debate about this. You're a Logic fan, so let me ask you this.
Okay.
So, do you feel as though Logic is like a diet? Someone said this to me. They believe Logic or Big Sean is a diet version of Logic. Or Logic is a diet version of Big Sean. Rather.
So we got to this conversation without me even having to bring it up. That's wild.
I'm assuming you've had this conversation too.
No, I've had thoughts about it. I've had a couple conversations about it. So here is the thing, and I know that we're about to get into a debate.
Wait. Let me say my little quick piece, and I'll let you get your shots off.
All right.
I like this album a whole lot. I think it's a top 10 album, and
Absolutely.
it's top 10 album of the year, and it's better than a lot of fucking shit that has come out. I think it's the best album that came out this past Friday, easily. We'll see, though. I don't want you to go ahead. Go ahead, Nando.
Yeah,
What-
you're funny.
What's so funny about that?
I know what he's talking about. You know who got banned, who got blackballed.
So here's the thing about the discography of Big Sean and Logic, right? Logic has, a decent amount of projects out. I would say more than Big Sean at this point in time. If you look at it as a whole, Logic probably has a better discography than Big Sean does. And that's just the way I see it because, like,
How?
I was all right. So, Hall of Fame,
You can't talk to Logic fans.
Hall of Fame, I'm not really a big fan of that album. But Finally Famous, I don't think many people are a big fan of that album. I would say like Dark Sky Paradise is probably his best album, like prior to this one, his second best album.
What?
So you think I Decided is his best album compared to
Well,
this
you're
one?
talking albums. So
I'm talking albums, yeah, not like just projects and shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, I was gonna say because to me, honestly, I still think Detroit is his best. D1 is still his best project of all time.
I'll agree with you. Like it's definitely in his top 3 projects for sure. But it's like when you think about it, Logic has like 2 or 3 albums that are definitely better than like whatever album falls in that number 3 space between like I guess you could probably put Dark Side Paradise. Probably Logic's albums are going to be better than that album. It just is what it is.
I mean, so I had this conversation, right? I didn't have that conversation. I had more of a conversation on. Well, it doesn't even matter. We're already here. We're at the dance.
We're here.
If you want to look at Discog, I'll let you have that. I'll let you have that only because a lot of early Big Sean albums, not just the mute, because I've listened to Big Sean since 2008, 2007.
Okay. So like what Finally Famous 2 time, right?
Finally Famous 2, I believe. I think it was like his second mixtape or whatever.
Okay.
This is like when he was still like regular to some extent, right? I was listening to Big Sean then, and even then, like you could tell there was an era of his music where it was just club music, for lack of better terms, right?
Okay.
Ash, Champagne, Chardonnay, all of that type of stuff, right? Platinum was a little radio song. And I'll give you that. When it comes to rapping, making like raps, Logic is a better rapper than Big Sean in terms of lyricism. But I think in terms of who's a better artist, I gotta go with Big Sean.
Big Sean.
At the end of the day, I have to say Big Sean because Big Sean makes better music. He's not as lyrical as Logic, but Logic to me is like Logic is diet version of Big Sean.
Go ahead, Lyle.
Yo, I want this fucking debate to be over because I want to pull my fucking hair out. I can't believe that we're sitting here comparing Logic to Big Sean. I think Big Sean is a better artist, right? I think he's a better rapper. Now Logic is, he got the lyrical, miracle, spiritual, and he can rhyme every fucking, thing in the book. That doesn't fucking matter, bro. If that shit mattered, Logic, he would have retired. Everybody be praising him. You see,
he wants to be with his kid.
Yeah, I was about to say that's not a bad reason.
I'm just plenty of rappers be with their kids.
Fuck them kids.
Well, yeah, okay. Plenty of rappers be with the kids. So what I'm saying is just like, you know what I mean? I think it's kind of crazy, like, for anybody. If you tell me, like, yo, man, yeah, Logic is just a better artist than Big Sean, I'm just going to be like, yo, like, it's crazy, bro. Like, get away from me. I'm not talking to you.
I mean, but is it though? But so I'll say like, but is it really like crazy for somebody to say that? Because if you look at like their overall discography, like you might be able to like more Logic projects. It just is what it is. And I'm not saying hold on, wait.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say that Logic is a better rapper, which is another conversation that I've had, because like I think they both, like when it comes to the art of rapping, they both do it extremely well. Like they put words together well, they put flows together well, they can talk about their content very well. Like, you know what I mean? Like they do it well. You know what I mean? So I go back and forth about it, like more or less than stick to one side of the fence. I like them both as artists though.
But so here's the thing about that, Nigel, right? When you want to use discography, you like a lot of Lil B music, but are you gonna say Lil B is a better artist than Big Sean?
Come on, yo. You know that's not even like comparable.
No, bro. You can't. But see, that's what I'm saying. You can't use that argument. You like a lot of Lil B music, and Lil B puts out thousands of. He has thousands of songs, hundreds of mixtapes.
All right.
His discography is big,
but that doesn't mean anything to what he's saying though.
No, but I mean that was what he was saying. He was saying like, oh well, his discography is better. He has like a bigger discography.
No, well, he's saying his discog is better. He's not saying he has a bigger discog that makes him better. He's just saying when you match up their discog together, he has a better. Big Sean hasn't put out better music than Logic. Is all he's saying, right? I don't agree with that because I think even Nigel agreed Logic's worst album is his biggest album. Which
agreed.
I mean, I don't think Big Sean's worst project is probably his biggest project. But I think there's a lot of similarities between the two artists. From they are kind of like this. I put it like this. To me, they're like brothers, right? If they were like brothers, Logic is like the little brother that actually was like, oh, my brother can rap, so I'm gonna actually for real. If you think about it, like
I find it hard, man, because it's like now if somebody was like trying to compare Logic to Eminem, I felt like okay, that's a lot. It's a lot. I could see the comparison, but I feel like him and Big Sean, they're a little different, right? Yeah, they both, because I feel like when I'm looking at when I'm listening to Logic and stuff like that, and listen to his content, and I put in Big Sean, they're not rapping about the same shit.
They're not rapping about the same stuff. I agree, but their content is different, but it's all shaped around their experience. It's shaped around their experiences, but their experiences is based off one particular thing for the most part, right? You look at Logic, you stereotype Logic as the rapper that likes to talk about his racial issues, right?
I'm white. I'm black and white.
There you go. But I listen to Big Sean. Either you're getting with Big Sean. Stereotypically, Big Sean, you're going to say, oh, you're going to get some club music. You're going to get some club music from it, but you're also going to get someone that can actually rap still. They both care for the same type of producers for the most part. Like the producer-wise is very similar. Their styles are different, but it's a lot of similarities even within their style to me personally. But I see a lot of similarities, but to me, I favor Big Sean. I think it's more of a preference.
Yeah.
Between the two, but there are in all honesty, there are similarities between the two artists when you stand back and look at it. If you even think about notoriety when it comes to both artists, right? Don't get me wrong, Logic is a big artist. He sold a huge album, which some of his fans didn't care for, but that's primarily off the backs of that big single, right? The single about suicide. But outside of that, I think and I'll ask Nigel, do you think Logic gets the respect he deserves? Yes or no?
Damn, you don't want me to explain this shit?
No, just yes or no, because you'll understand why I'm saying this.
All right, I want to get a chance to explain that, but I'll say no.
Oh, just like I thought you would say. So he doesn't get the respect he deserves. And you're a Logic fan. I'm a Big Sean fan. A big Sean fan, right? I don't think he gets the respect he deserves either. I think Big Sean is one of those artists that he's always going to be in. His career has never ascended to me to where it should have been.
All right, so let me respond to what you said.
Just the same with Logic.
So I think Big Sean, if I liked his albums more, I think Big Sean would get the credit he deserves. Like, because honestly, like for a rapper, Big Sean does everything that I would want a good rapper to do. Like like I said, I said it before, like, you know, some of the qualities that I find in him to be like make him a good artist or whatever. And Logic has a lot of those qualities. The thing about Logic that kind of puts, you know, him in a certain spot is that, you know, a lot of people think like he's like the white boys rapper. And I'm sure he has a problem with that as well. And it just is what it is. If you listen to his music, like especially the I'm white, I'm black album, because y'all love to say that, it's one of those things where it's like, I get it. I get it. Like if I was listening to that shit, matter of fact, I didn't like the fucking album. So it's like, like, you know what I mean? I'm with y'all. Like the shit kind of sucked. It is what it is. But that being said, though, like that album in place of his discography is just like a blotch on his record. Doesn't mean his record is bad. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, but I think there's a lot of stains on. There's some more stains on Logic's career, I think, because I think
there are for sure.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I think when it comes to originality, I'll put Big Sean as more original than Logic is when it comes to like bodies of work, just because Logic's work has always been said to be, oh, this is just a knockoff version of a Kendrick album or so on and so forth, right? I didn't really listen to the rest of his discography because I don't really care for him as a rapper.
They were saying Big Sean sounded like somebody when he came out. Who was it? They were comparing Big Sean and Drake.
Yeah.
Nah, they were saying Big Sean and Drake were stealing the flow from Ludacris.
No, Spence is right on that one. I forgot about that. I remember the Drake and Big Sean comparisons, but I do remember the flow stealing criticism from Ludacris, which is in, you know, at the end of the day, that was Ludacris in itself.
I mean, but it made sense though.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, at the time, it made sense.
Yeah, sure.
Jesus.
I mean,
you don't like Ludacris Law? Like,
I like Ludacris. I fucked with Ludacris. I thought Ludacris was better than T.I. when in the early 2000s, right?
I can agree to that.
Yeah, I thought in the early 2000s, I thought Ludacris was better than T.I. I thought he put out better work and all that stuff like that. So it's not, I don't have no hate on Ludacris, especially on his first half of his career. Right. I just didn't agree with those notions. That's all. And just because I feel like Ludacris's music versus their music when they first came out versus like what Ludacris has already done at that point, I was like, man, it's two different styles. You know what I mean? Now, if you're talking about later Ludacris when he was doing like fucking, I'm just gonna make female music, then I could see that if that was the comparison. But when I'm thinking of Ludacris, I'm thinking Chicken and Beer, word of mouth Ludacris. And that Ludacris, that music, it's not necessarily for females, right? It's not favorite for females, if you think about it. You know what I mean?
You talking about pussy popping.
Yeah, before that.
Now, I agree there. I agree with you there, but I will say that the albums that Ludacris was putting out at the time were different. They were different in comparison to what you heard from Sean in them. But when Ludacris got into that pop era at that one time where it's like coming down the street like a parade, Macy's, like that punchline type of rapping, that was, you can't lie. He was making bank off for that at one moment in time. He was a big artist rapping like that at one moment in time. So
I hated that shit.
I did too. It was commercial, but he probably was at his biggest when he was rapping like that.
It's going down basement.
I got her, nigga. Grocery bags. He didn't say that, but that was from that one guy off of that Bedrock song.
Yeah, I was just like, come on, man. Like that shit is just that shit was killing me, man.
Nah, but at that time, though, I think when Drake and Big Sean came out, they had flows like that in some of their songs. Yeah, but back to what we were saying about this whole Logic and Big Sean thing, I'll say this. I'll leave it at this. I think there are comparisons between the two. I'll say in terms of art, in terms of rapping ability, I'll give it to Logic in terms of career, but in terms of who's the better rapper and artist, that I think that's accepted by more people. I'm not even gonna say that part, but who's just the better artist? I got to go with Big Sean. Big Sean's the better artist, and I think he makes better music than Logic.
It's one of those things where it's like I understand the comparison, and it's one of those things when I think of like, you know, the top 5 like rappers right now where I place people and whatever, like, you know, I play around with the list and I try to figure out why people, you know, are where they are or whatever. But what I'll say is I think Logic could get a lot more credit. I think Big Sean could get more credit too. I think people kind of sleep on him in comparison to, you know, your Coles and Kendricks and
Big Sean never
whatever.
proved himself like they did.
And that's because of his discog, man. That's really what it is. Honestly.
Well, yeah. It's his discog, but even outside of his discog, listening to this album, I think he needs to get writers. Like,
Whoa.
yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
This album's good.
If you let me finish what I got to say, people are so quick to jump the gun. God damn. I said the album's good, but the reason why I said I think he needs writers in terms of creating, because to me, Big Sean has always been at that second tier. Like, to me, the top tier is Kendrick, Cole, and Drake, right?
Okay, yeah.
I feel like Big Sean throughout his whole career, we've seen to me as a fan especially, I think Big Sean has always been respected at that tier 2 level. He's never got to that tier 1 level where he should be because of the music that he makes or the music that he should be making. So and reason why I say if he had a writer, I think he would be at that tier 1 position, just like some of the other people that are there.
So he needs Sci-Hi.
Hey man, Sci-Hi. Yeah, listen, he probably can't get Sci-Hi. Sci-Hi writing all the hits for Travis Scott and Kanye West.
Hey man, shouts out to Travis Scott. And how do you guys feel about Kanye?
Well, actually, I was gonna say I hope Sci-Hi maybe Sci-Hi might ghostwrite this whole like presidential campaign for Kanye, and then maybe he can actually have a chance. But I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work for him, but clearly Arizona is not feeling it. So they actually had somebody come out and petition. They're actually suing or like petitioning the state from having Kanye actually on the ballot this year, just so it doesn't have any confusion.
Man, so honestly, this whole Kanye thing is a joke. I don't want to put any energy in that. When it comes to presidential shit, don't want to put any energy into it because it's just a joke. We all know he's not fucking winning. We all know that, you know, whether he comes out and admits or not, he's taking votes away from Biden to help out his friend. You know what I mean?
Oh, he already came out and said something about that.
You know what I mean? I think it's a joke. Anybody voting for him, I just felt like, look, man, you're not really serious about what's going on today. And I'm not saying that because Kanye is a black man. I'm saying that because Kanye is not the right person to be running. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys saw the shit with Nick Cannon, but I watched it. And he didn't say anything crazy, really, right? I watched it because I thought, okay, he was going to come out and say some crazy shit. Honestly, it was a normal-ass interview. And when I was watching that, I was kind of like, you know what Spence was saying a few podcasts ago was right. This shit was all an act, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't, I don't know, man. When I hear the name Kanye, man, it's just immediate head shaking. I wonder what kind of crazy thing he's going to say now.
Right. I mean, it's Kanye just knows how to keep himself in the media at the end of the day. Like, that's all it really comes down to. He knows how to keep himself in the media. He knows what to say to trigger people. Because I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
excuse me.
God damn, man.
Shit, I was trying to suppress it. I ain't got nothing. But
The new strand.
I guess I got the 2.0.
Yeah.
But let me not joke about that too much. I think Kanye knows he knows how to get people riled up, and I think I didn't watch the whole interview. I watched part of it, and I watched like the first half of it, and it wasn't too much. Like you said, it wasn't anything that's like shocking,
right?
In terms of who Kanye is. I wouldn't be surprised if there is more, if there is those parts, because this is part 1 of the interview. But I do think Kanye, only thing I gained from looking at this so far is just how like more of like the understanding of Kanye in terms of his business, right?
Yeah.
So and like whatever his mission is, which is cool. I think is just I don't know. I think I have to see more. I have to finish watching this one and just see what else comes out from this whole interview, just to really form a accurate opinion. But I don't know. I think to me, at the end of the day, watching it, one thing I did say was Kanye knows how to keep his name going. At the end of the day, like whether it be people like the person in Arizona that's trying to sue to get him off the ballot, or him having like those crazy moments, like him. He talked about that. He expounded on that a little bit in the Nick Cannon interview. Also,
What is that?
well, he was just saying why he dressed that way and why he ended up saying something about his daughter, like the whole thing about being vulnerable, talking about his daughter, about wanting to get rid of his daughter at the moment in time. So, but it wasn't. It like Lyle said, it's nothing crazy. I think in terms of what you expect from Kanye and what you got from Kanye, it was lacklustering. It was very lacklustering, but I'm hoping to listen to see more of it down the line, if anything.
Man, this whole situation's crazy. I'm done with it. Just kind of like Lau is. Like, people are gonna vote for him because they're idiots. Honestly, at the end of the day, like anybody who votes for Kanye is an idiot. Honestly, and I mean, really, it's a waste of a vote. We all know it. He probably knows it.
He knows it.
Oh, yeah.
It's his scheme. It's come on, man. Most people that create scams, they know it's a scam. You know what I mean? They don't,
Oh, of course.
they
So-
don't, they don't believe that's not a scam. So they're like,
So let me tell a story, right? Because we got a little extra time today. So there was this thing that me and Lau did. He comes up to me and he says, "Hey, this person comes up to me and there's this company, this insurance company.
oh shit.
We don't have to say the name of said company, but Lau comes up to me and he says, "Hey, we're gonna come here, we're gonna do this meeting and blah blah blah." So we go there, we sit there in this meeting and I'm seeing people like, all colors and creeds and whatever. And I'm just looking, I'm like, like, a lot of things seem odd about this. So we go and see the dude again. And it's like, all right, well, all you got to do is buy this insurance book, costs about like $200, and you can sell insurance with us. Now, me,
Scam.
red flag immediately. I'm like, like, I don't want to do that because it's like they never explained what this job was. Every time I asked what the job is, they never said what we were doing. So they just said, "Hey, you're selling insurance." I'm like, "Okay, well, cool. How are we going door to door? Are we emailing people? How are we doing this?" They're like, "Hey, don't worry about that. Call your friends and tell them that they're selling insurance and they can make money too." So I'm like,
What?
"Yeah." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is a pyramid scheme." Immediately, I'm like that. Now
No, it's not pyramid. It's actually they showed you proof of concept, right?
me and Lau were young at the time. So I say, "Hey, Lau, I'm not about this. Like, I'm out." Lau says, like, once again, we're young. He says, "Hey, man, you sound like you're being kind of a Debbie Downer." And I was just like, "Yo, nah, like this shit just doesn't sound right. Like it just doesn't sound right." And he was like, "Yo, nah." He's like, "You being a Debbie Downer." So I was like, "All right, cool. Is what it is." And I went to a few more of the meetings and I'm like, yeah, nah, I went to one day. And once I noticed that, hey, these guys are not going to tell me what is going on and how we're going to do this, I'm like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah,
Hold on,
yeah.
you went to multiple meetings and they never told you what y'all were doing?
Not once.
No, so I mean,
Scam.
they told us, but it wasn't. They didn't tell it in a way where Nigel felt comfortable, right? I'm just gonna say the company. I'm just gonna say the
No,
company.
don't say it. Don't say it.
No,
No,
don't say it.
Don't say it. No, don't
Don't say it.
Oh,
Don't say
okay. I was about to throw him under the bus for real, bro. I couldn't care less either. But anyway, Nigel was right about this company, though. He was right. Like it was a pyramid scheme scam type of shit. And the thing about it, you do sell insurance, right? But Nigel said one thing to me that stuck out with me, and I kind of wish I hopped on that instinct immediately, but I did it. He was like, "Wow, how can a blind man sell insurance to you?" and it was life insurance, bro.
But
What?
and that's not to say that blind people can't sell insurance. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Because blind people are very, very capable and everything else. But it just looks kind of odd. You know what
There
I
was
mean?
a
Like,
blind man, a blind guy in one of these meetings, and nothing against people who have handicaps like they're
Disabilities.
blind, disabilities. Nothing against them because they're capable of doing work. This guy clearly looked like he didn't have a job.
yeah. Like he
Like
walked in like literally like off the street. And people who are listening, y'all know what I mean when I say like off the street. Like, you know, so when I saw that, I'm just like, okay, you know, fuck the fact that he's blind. Like, dude looked like you'd never buy insurance from this guy, like this particular guy.
He didn't. I'll put it like this. It looked like he wasn't dressed the part. In so many words.
Yes, that's putting it lightly.
In so many words, he wasn't dressed the part. I got you.
Yes.
so, like when he said that to me, I'm like, damn, this motherfucker's right. And eventually, over time, you know, I finally smartened up and realized, like, okay, this is definitely not the fucking move. But
I'll blind man sell me insurance.
if you, you know, and I don't think you will because you're above that. But if somebody ever came to you from that company, I would tell you to go far from it as possible.
Listen, I'll tell you like this. I won't be falling for any of those. And I say that because I've seen plenty of those. I've never seen the insurance one. There's a motor club one. I forget what the name of it was. There was, you remember when people were waking up? There was the Wake Up Now.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened. And Joel Santana backed Wake Up Now. Welcome home, Joel Santana.
Yeah.
There was a knife company that I went to. I went to a knife company when I was 18 looking for a job. And I knew it was a scam after I was just there. It was like a janky type of spot. It was across from the high school.
Well, one of the things about it, right, that I didn't think the job was feasible for a young 19, 20-year-old me, right? Check this motherfucking like company was like, hey, do you know 10 people that's looking for a job? No, I don't know 10 people that's looking for a job. I know 10 people, but some of them already have jobs, you know? Okay. Right. Out of these 10 people, do you think that they know 10 to 20 people that's looking for jobs?
That's a scam. Hold on, he's literally telling you to scam in front of your eyes.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of like, bro, no, right? So he gives me the sheet.
You're dismissing the whole thing.
Yeah, this guy, he gives me the sheet, right? And it's like a list of like, it's like 30 lines. And he was like, tell me 30 people and give me the contact information. And then so this way we can reach out to them. And these 30 people that actually come and join, they're going to be under you. And I was just kind of like, bro, like, I don't know 30 people that's willing to do this. And he was like, oh, well, you know, it could be anybody. It could be your uncle, your aunt, your cousins. And you know, that was just more or less kind of like, all right, yeah, this shit is not.
The shit that got me is like, they were like, hey, just list everybody you know. And the people who can't do it, it's practice. It's just like, okay, nah, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not giving you any of these names, man. Like, you know what I mean? You can just practice on a few of your friends, and it's okay. It's just like, yeah, like you're setting me up for a trick. I was in the parking lot going to fucking GameStop one day. I was picking up a game, and dude comes up to me. He's like, "Yo, you're military, right?" I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, all right, well, look, I got a job for you. I'm like, yo, I'm in a parking lot. Like, and we sat there and talked. I'm like, yo, I don't give a fuck about this. I don't give a single fuck. Like, let me get my game.
Don't you see me getting out the store, picking up a game, going back to my car?
Not even.
Don't you?
I was walking to the store.
He saw you.
He probably saw me pull up in the parking lot. He's like, hey. Like, you know what I mean?
No, he saw you from afar.
You're in the military, right? What kind of fucking question?
He's like, you just got that look. Like,
Nah,
like, come on.
nah. He saw something. You did something that he knew. Oh, he's in the military.
Shit.
Trust me. Trust me. From seeing people that have tried to do this type of stuff, like I've seen people literally try to sign me up for like the right now it's Forex, right?
Okay.
Which is a real market, but people are really trying to sign me up. I've seen people try to sign me up for it, and I'm like, fam, there's no way in the world I'm doing this. And they tried the same thing, like, oh, you know, I know you got a job and all, but hey, listen, man, the pandemic is getting really bad. And it was actually someone I knew hit me. It was like, yo, the pandemic's getting really bad, and you know, knowing you for so long, I really care about your well-being and hoping you're doing good. So I wanted to put you onto an opportunity. And it was pretty much the Forex shit. I just said, nah, I'm good, fam. I'm good. I'm good with my job, yo. Like,
So, yeah, it's crazy because. So, do you guys remember I used to work for the Bonds to Go company?
Yeah.
what?
You didn't know I used to work for Bonds to Go?
Nah.
You know what that is, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was working at Bonds to Go for probably like 7 or 8 months. You know? And then there was
What
a
was
guy
this?
that, man,
This is I know you?
Yeah, bro, you knew me. This is before Zoe was born.
I may have, was this like up in Newark or some shit like that? Upstate?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I remember you saying something about it.
Yeah. So while I was working there was sometimes there's guys that come in, well, I should say just guys, but sometimes there's customers that come in there and that spend big amount of money on custom made blinds. There was this one guy, he was like, yeah, him and his wife, they just got a new house and they're looking for blinds. So I'm working with this guy and he's spending mad bread. Like we're talking, I never thought somebody would spend thousands of dollars for some fucking blind. But working there, you see that quite a bit. So this guy, he buys his blinds and he was like, hey man, are you going to school? Nothing. I was like, no, I'm not in school currently. But when I was going to school, I was going to school for computer network, blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, so you're into that. Okay, cool, because, you know, I'm interested in that, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you know, hey, take my business card or whatever like that, da-da-da. So I'm like, all right, cool. So a couple weeks later, the guy comes back to pick up his blinds, and he was like, hey, man, what you doing for lunch today? And I'm like, I don't got no lunch or nothing. He was like, look, man, if you want to come up with me, you know, buy a tree or whatever. So we went to this restaurant, and it was nearby. It wasn't like blah, blah, blah. So I went there with him, right? Because I just thought like, okay, this guy who looked business savvy, give me a business card, blah, blah, blah. I was thinking like, okay, you know, I wonder what this, you know, if this guy is trying to offer me some type of a real fucking job or some shit like that. Because I never had it. I was like, what the fuck? But fuck it, why not, right?
Right.
So I go there. This guy, we're talking. He's asking me like what I'm into, and like what do I like want to be in career wise and all that stuff. So I'm here thinking like, yo, this guy's about to offer me some type of fucking business, like job or some shit. Like this is crazy. And so I'm like sitting there. I'm like getting eager to hear like, okay, what he's about to say. Then he's like, I want you to watch a video. So it's a video of a guy selling products, and then immediately right there, I was like, oh my God.
Yo, what was the level of the level of like dissatisfaction, whatever.
Dissatisfaction.
Dissatisfaction.
I you know, I respectfully finished the video because I didn't want the guy, because he paid for the meal too, right? And I didn't want him to feel. No, man, because at that point, like
Where was it at?
What the
food?
What
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. What was it? Somewhere good?
It's mid. It's mid.
Oh, well, let's say this. At the time when this happened, was it mid for you or was it good for you? Good eating for you at the time?
Economically, it was good for me.
Okay. I understand why you stayed there. Yeah.
Okay. It makes sense.
Otherwise, I would have been out. I'd be like, hey, man, like, they actually need me back at the office. I got a phone call. Like,
So
he took loud at Applebee's and was like, oh.
I'm eating good.
economically.
He's like, I'll even get you the 2 for $20. How about that?
Oh, word. You going to let me get both of them? Yeah, man, go ahead.
So
And
this
you
one,
can get
he's
a
like,
drink.
so this guy. So this guy, after he shows me this fucking video of people selling products, he was like, "Yeah, I want you to join under me." You know what I mean? I think he got good aptitude. Of course, you know how to sell because you sold me and my wife thousands of dollars worth of blinds. Da da da. This and other. And I was just like, well, I got to think about it. And he said, all right. He gave me his number and shit like that. And then he was like, this nigga, man, he was like fucking, he was calling the store to speak to me. He was trying to he was like, yo, why haven't you called me yet? And all this shit like
Sounds
that.
like a bad ex-girlfriend.
And I was just kind of like,
man.
and I was kind of like, I had to tell him, I was like, look, I'm really not interested in, where I'm at. I'm satisfied with, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully you take care. Hopefully you enjoy your blinds that you got from the store. Watch for the pyramid schemes and all that shit.
Yeah, my bad about that.
What's the shit that you're trying to play for us?
Oh, nah. Nah, it was the... I was trying to close it one off by accident. The Tom Hanks' son talking about Adele.
That was Chet?
Yeah.
I heard Chet Hanks and the Jamaican Adele, they said if they had a baby, da-da-da-da-da, so on and so forth.
That shit is fun.
This shit looks great. You know what, though?
Adele. You know, say me a prayer from long time, but after me see a picture of that, it's sweet me. Me not tell no lie, my girl. Hairstyle fit you. Big up yourself. And
Come on, man. Why?
Hey man, shouts out to everybody that finds that entertaining. When I see shit like that, I swipe. I have no care for shit like that, bro.
Fam, I came across it and I'm like, fam, you the shit is just it's so many things all in one. It's so many things all in one. Because you saw what they were giving. You saw the hell they were giving Adele about.
I mean,
that.
but some of the people were out there like, hey, look, like we don't care about her wearing our flag. Like, go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
but
fuck with that.
yeah, I have no problem with it. But I think, of course, some people always going. Well, Chet is one of those people, but like people that cultural appropriate.
Yeah.
Like,
you think he cultural appropriates though? And
yes.
but why do you say that? Because
I think
his children is from like a black woman.
No, Chet's mom black?
No, he's saying his children. Chet's children.
Chet's children. I'm not talking about Tom Hanks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't. I mean, like every time you have a white person outside of Eminem, that's always referencing black culture these days. I feel like people are quick to say, "Oh, that's cultural appropriation." I'm like, what if they're really down for the culture? Like, you know what I'm saying?
He could be, and I may have just never seen it. To me, it just comes across as appropriation, just because I think to me, appropriation is just the benefiting off of one's other race without really having to give anything back to it. Like it's like, oh, I see this. Oh, I like this. I'm hacking the culture, quote unquote, and then I taking a leave. You saw what Steve Styles said.
One of those people they give a lot of flack to is like Justin Timberlake, and like he's honestly been doing this shit in the culture for like over like a decade now. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like he's been doing this shit for like a long time, like working with like different artists and shit from the culture. And it's like that was before Miley Cyrus jumped in and out of the culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but you could, because you're always gonna have somebody like that though. You're always gonna have artists that come in, take what they need, and then go back. You saw when Justin was like, "Oh, I'm trying something new and I'm rebirthing myself and I'm going." What was it, like Man in the Woods or some mess like that?
But even still, if you listen to that album, like most of those songs are produced by Timberland and Pharrell. Like, you know what I mean?
Surprise.
But has he given back to the black community? Does he have black children? Blah,
No,
blah, blah.
that I can't.
I mean,
speak to
I don't
that
think.
shit.
Well, listen. First and foremost, I don't think having black children means you gave back to the black community.
No, it doesn't mean that. But if you're willing to,
no, doesn't mean anything.
no, let me finish. If
Go
you're
ahead, I know what you're saying.
if you're willing to sleep with black people and all that stuff like that, it's for people. The general public, it's safe to assume like, oh well, maybe this guy is for black people, because it's you don't see white people, and I'm not talking about just sleeping. I mean, like if you're going to have a family with a black woman, it's not something that you see white men readily so to be publicly out with to have black women as their wives and
Like
have
Brian
black
Urlacher.
families. Exactly. I didn't know.
I'm not saying. Look,
I didn't know Brian Urlacher. I didn't know Brian Urlacher had a black wife until somebody fucking mentioned it, or you had to do research. He doesn't publicly go out there and parade that.
and I'm not saying I fully agree with what you're saying, but what I will say is that like if you're kind of taking part of the culture for like a long period of time and you're not really backing away from your stance, like I mean, reinventing yourself, artists do that shit all the time. Like Miley Cyrus was like, we all know what she said. I don't have to dive into that. But it's like one of those things where it's like, did Justin give back to the culture? I can't speak for that, but he's been kind of like dipping his toes in for like 10 years.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I
15 years.
I think the whole thing with Justin Timberlake all goes back to the Super Bowl. To be honest with you,
Yeah, but that's
I
fucked
think-
up though. We can't blame that on Justin.
No, I think the reason why people say something about that from that moment moving forward is just the fact that, and granted, I understand business, but when you get a chance to be on a stage with someone like Janet Jackson, and then you go through that whole rendition, and then she catches hell for it, but it only happened because he pulled it, right? And he steps away, he goes off and has his career while she catches hell. She's Janet Jackson, so she rebounds from it. I think that's where people are like, okay, well, if you feed off, you took part of this whole thing, and now when the heat comes, it's like, hey, y'all just gonna throw that on her? The event would have never happened had I not been there. I think because of that singular moment, I think that was one of the singular moments that made people look at him differently. And this is like during the time he has like he's a pillar at a pillar, loosely saying that in terms of music at the time. When it came to like within our culture, he was socially accepted at that time, because I think this might have been before. This might have been before Cry Me a River, but it's like he was making music that we accepted already. So I think that's the reason for it.
So what's the real definition of cultural appropriation, right? Because if we don't, when you say somebody like, okay, like Miley Cyrus, right? We all know she's Hannah Montana, and the music she was making on Disney was clearly not some of the music that she was making later on in her career. I could see you saying something like that. So I feel like it's easier to label an artist for cultural appropriation. I can even see somebody say that to Justin Timberlake if Justin Timberlake has to give it back to the culture some way. But when it comes to like regular people like Chet, and I'm not trying to defend Chet or nothing, I'm trying to understand, okay, why are you saying he's culture appropriating, right? Like why, like what did he take that was so like, what did he take to make his career for black people that he could have that label?
I'll be honest with you. I never heard of anything about this guy until he started using the patois thing. Let's be honest. Like I think nobody heard about him until he started doing the patois thing, right? And I think,
that's fair. That's fair.
And that is a form of cultural appropriation. Like for you to understand, hey, I'm taking something. And granted, I think we all do it in a micro way. But I think when it's something that is considered from the standpoint of saying, hey, I don't think when something is not culturally accepted, right, by society. If society doesn't accept something that your culture does, but someone else can come in and use it for their benefit, and it's accepted by society, there's a problem there, I think. And I think when people recognize, like, hey, I can use this, and granted, it may not be society will entertain it because it's me and not someone from that actual culture. And I'll still get some approval from this culture. The same goes with, like, you look at the issues that people have always brought up with Kim Kardashian, for instance, right? A lot of times people say she culturally appropriates because
I think she fixed herself with that, with all the whole thing that she's done by helping people get out of jail and all that. I think it helped. It shows, it's a testament that you are willing to help people that are brown and black color, right? And maybe I have it wrong by saying cultural appropriation is the using of one culture but not giving back. I may be wrong in that saying, and just saying like you're taking from someone else's culture for your benefactor, right? Okay.
Because a lot of times, I mean, a lot of people look at her from her standpoint of from the hairstyles she wears that are known within our culture, that are deemed unacceptable when when black women have worn these hairstyles, right? Some things that we find that have been considered either ghetto, not professional, so on and so forth. These are things that are considered people don't like. People not don't like, but it's considered unacceptable, right? In certain in professional spaces, in certain spaces, right? But you'll have someone like, and I'm using these people in particular, like someone like, you'll see someone like a Miley Cyrus or Kim Kardashian who considers themselves well, we'll say Kim Kardashian, for instance. She considers herself a standard of beauty to some people, right?
Okay.
Well, some of the things that makes her a standard of beauty are things that come from our culture in terms of looks, whether it be hair, whether it be jewelry, whether it be those type of things. People find that to be, oh, this is beautiful on her, but when you see it from someone else, it's, oh, nah, it doesn't look good. It's not deemed acceptable, or it's deemed ghetto or something to that nature. And I think that's why people look at her from that standpoint of cultural appropriation, from even the fact that she uses something on her skin just so her skin could be darker, right? But granted, we can't control melanin. We can't give melanin to people, but I think it's just a testament of saying, hey, if I get criticized for my skin complexion, but then someone else can turn around and say, hey, I'm not that skin complexion, do whatever they got. Granted, I'm darker, so it's going to look differently, of course. But they're able to take, hey, I can put something on my skin though I may be extremely lighter than you, for lack of better terms. I may not have that pigment. I may not have that brown pigment within my skin. And I put that on just so to feel comfortable and be accepted by people. It's like, it'd be like a trip out to me, because it's like, yo, I've been called all crazy things as a kid for my skin complexion, but then someone that didn't have to grow up with the same fight and struggles that I had from it, they can go ahead and put this on their skin to make them look somewhat similar to me. Maybe not me necessarily, but maybe someone of one of y'all complexion, right? And it's deemed acceptable. Wow. Like, I think that is that's a form of appropriation that people take note of, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people like that have that sentiment a lot of times.
So like with that one, I feel like this one is like really touchy, and I think it kind of this one depends on the situation versus like a generalization, right? Because like I feel like everybody likes things from different cultures, right? So is it culture appropriation when black people take from Asian culture, right? Like far as like the styles and the themes and all that stuff like that? Or is it culture appropriation when you have like a lot of these rappers, you know, they have these obviously Hispanic tones to their music and terminology and all that, but obviously they're not giving back to the Hispanic community, but their whole, you know, image is based off of Hispanic things. Is
like
that,
who?
So just in general, I think he's saying.
Like right. Hold on, you're saying rappers?
I think he's saying just in general.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I mean, but rappers do it too, right? Like, for example, the Migos, right? We understand. They're not saying, hey, we're the Migos because we like fucking salsa and chips. We know why they're the Migos. You know what I mean? Why they call themselves the Migos. So what I'm just saying, because it's kind of like, I feel like with that, I feel like it's like pick and choose, right? So I can understand from a financial standpoint why people would be upset, right? Let's say like the guy Chet, because that's what this stemmed from. Let's say that Chet came out and he was making money and he was doing fucking shows off of the Jamaican accent. I can understand people being pissed off, like, yo, like, you're not even fucking Jamaican, like, that ain't right. You know what I mean? Well, you have actual real Jamaican performers that should be getting recognition. I get that 100%. But I feel like for like a fucking Instagram video, I feel like, yo, like he's just fucking talking. I don't understand like what's the big deal and why you should make it so deep where you're trying to label him as culture or appropriation. You know what I mean? Now, like I said, if the dude is making money from it and he's not bringing like and he's not giving back to what he's made money from, then I can understand people being upset. But if it's just a fucking random post or picture, then I feel like, well, if you could criticize that, then everything that you guys do that's not from your culture and you're making pictures and posts from it, you guys shouldn't do that. You're open to criticism for that as well. I feel like that's a two-lane street. And I feel so like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like that's it really depending on the situation for you to say that's culture appreciation. So everything that you're saying about Kim Kardashian and all that stuff like that, then that's fair, right? Because like literally practically everything that she does, she makes money from it.
Right, and
she makes money off of Instagram. She makes money advertising
facts.
what she got like that. But if it's some random girl that nobody fucking knows that she's appreciating black culture, she shouldn't get slammed because she's not making money off of like Kim Kardashian's making money off of it. And I feel like sometimes people confuse it of like, hey, I appreciate this culture to the point that I actually like it versus like, hey, I'm gonna steal it as my own and not give credit where it came from. And I feel like that there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of confusion of that, bro. Because if that's the case, black people need to stop. We need to go ahead and own the African culture 100%, and we need to stop fucking with the Migos. We need to stop fucking with Pablo Escobars and shit like that. We need to stop fucking with anime and manga and Japanese shit.
I don't think because I watch anime. If you watch anime, that's appropriation.
No. But there's people out there that live by the anime shit, and die by the anime shit.
But that's a cartoon.
It's still a form of entertainment.
I think what he's saying,
but a form of entertainment is different than something that is like, okay, this is known to a culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you can't compare. It's hard to compare something that is like, okay, the way you wear your hair versus a cartoon that comes on TV at 5 o'clock.
I think what he's saying is that like some people take it and like will use it as like their thing. You know what I mean? Like more or less than anything. I don't think he's saying it like, hey, I like it. Okay, cool. Like you can't fuck with it anymore. I think he's saying like, hey, like some people use it as like the way they make money. And it's like they can instead take from our like original culture and make that and monetize off of that instead.
But see, I think exactly. when it comes to the conversation of original culture within this country, that's a whole nother conversation. I think because
I'm just talking about black people.
I'm talking about black people though. I'm talking about black people because when you make that type of statement, you're also making the statement that for me it'd be like you telling me and I'm just saying this from my experience. It'd be like someone telling me, hey, you need to only practice your African culture. Well, for one, there's a whole conversation that goes behind that we don't have to have that derives from slavery, right? So I think the culture that we have in America is our culture. And I think as a people, I think a lot of things that we embrace in terms of what we embrace as our culture are a lot of times that we embrace from other cultures is a lot of times because of, hey, we're pulling things that resonate to us to some extent, whether it be the fight that someone had to have. And I think that's why we'll just say for a lack of better term, within culture where we praise like the kingpins and all of that stuff. I think a reason why a lot of times people praise them within our culture has a lot to do with the economical hurdles that a lot of people face, right? In the standpoint of you look at someone like a El Chapo or even a Scarface, right? Someone's going to look at that. Someone that maybe from our culture will look at that and say, hey, he made it. At the end of the day, that person symbolizes a person that made it from from nothing to something, right? And I think that's the reason for those type of appropriations when you embrace something like that. But when I'm talking about the appropriation from someone like Chet, right? I look at it as appropriation because he's only known for. There's nothing I've never seen anything where we're just talking about him or he's anything that's ever been in media that's came across us in media where it's just him just being him. It's always something that's attached to this patois dialect ever since he got caught some shit for it. So I think that's the reason. I think that's one of the reasons as to why there's appropriation there and that he benefits from it in the long run because his celebrity builds, which means his income should build along with that. I think that's a lot of the things with that.
No, I mean, I just feel like that at that point, it'd be pick and choose, right? Because as you were saying about like the whole El Chapo thing, right? He got it out the mud and black people could relate to get out the mud. Well, if that's the case, why don't you relate it to our African situation like the King of Scotland, right? That's a motherfucker that got out the mud to the point that now he's reigning, dictating, and he's ruling a portion of Africa. But nobody wants to reference shit like that.
Who are you talking about? I've never heard of him.
Well, you look. It's a movie that Forrest Whitaker played, and you could, Okay. See. So what I'm telling you right now, like But nobody reference that in the black culture. They don't. They want to reference Pablo Escobar, El Chapo, every other fucking Mexican cartel, and it's cool and it's funny for entertainment. But I feel like that's part of what you're saying about that, because none of them fucking entertainers, rappers, or whatever like that, they're not going back to those communities that actually living through the damage of what those cartels are causing, and they're not giving back to them at that at all. So in a sense, to your explanation, that's appropriation as well. All the fucking YouTube creators and people that's also entertainment that's living off of the fucking the Japanese themes, whereas it's anime, manga, video games, all that shit, and they're making money. They're not giving back to the fucking the Japanese people that created that fucking thing for them to live. And I see a bunch of no, but
I hold it differently when it comes to a cartoon. Personally, because it's a cartoon.
I might have to agree to disagree.
No. You're holding it just to that one thing. I'm just saying it's just different. It's not.
Well, I'm
just
using the example you're giving. That's right.
It's not just a cartoon. That's why I said video games and other things like that. That people they appropriate shit of like the samurai, the ninjas, and all that. I could go deep. I'm not trying to broaden out, because we don't have all the time in the world. I'm just saying they're not going back and like, hey, my content and the reason why I get paid $10,000 to $20,000 a month is because I use Japanese tropes and all that. But I'm not going to Japan and giving back to the Japanese community, even though everything is I'm making my money off of that, what they fucking created. I'm just saying that. So what I'm saying, like, if it's like a appreciation post or appreciation thing and all that, I don't see the big deal of it. But if you are making money off the black community and all that, and you're not giving it back to them, or you're not doing anything where you're putting back to the culture, I can understand people being upset, and they have every right to be upset, because it's like, yo, you're stealing our shit, and you're not giving, and you're not doing anything for us.
You're not doing anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're not doing anything for us, like, but you're making money off of us. Then I'm not gonna dispute you. I'm not. Go against you at all with that. But if it's kind of like you appreciate the culture, you're not making a fucking dime from it, then I don't see the problem with it.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to agree to disagree, because I agree with some of the stuff you said, but I just don't agree with everything you said. So I think we'll just leave it at we agree to disagree on this one. So
okay.
But y'all got any final thoughts for the week?
Everybody's continue to stay safe, right? Because even though I see mad people still going out to the beaches and taking trips and all that, I think a lot of people forgot that, hey, the second wave might still fucking happen.
True.
So
it's
I feel like
it is.
So there you go. So I feel like people need to really just relax and and just be aware and understand, like, hey, COVID is still a real thing. And also, shouts out to everybody that's back in school, all the college people. Myself, I'm back in school too. So, shouts out to everybody still grinding with that, still doing work, and still maintaining their homes in today's climate. And shouts out to everybody that's doing something outside of their job. Like, for example, like us, right? We're working on a podcast and all that. We all have independent projects that we would like to do and all that shit. So shouts out to everybody that's doing that, because I feel like that's good. And I think more people are starting to realize these days, like, hey, I'm not going to get where I would like to be financially just by working my normal job.
Facts. I'll just leave it at this. I won't keep it too long. Everybody stay safe. Like Lau said, COVID's crazy. We are getting a second wave. 90,000 cases reported in one day in country just recently. Well, yesterday, India, there was 90,000 cases reported. So, everybody be safe. Get your money right and hold on tight.
Y'all been highly advised. Have a good one, y'all. We will see y'all next week. Be safe, all that other good nonsense, and we are out.